Hello and welcome to the Transatlantic Sports Show. I'm your host, Anthony Wootton. You can follow us on social media at TASS_UK for all your football, baseball delights on Instagram and X. I am Anthony Wootton at AR Wootton. You can see the details on the bottom of your screen if you're watching on YouTube. If you are listening, then please check us out on YouTube at TASS_UK or just search the Transatlantic Sports Show. Of course, if you're watching on YouTube and you want us to join you on your run or whilst you're doing your chores, then please find us via your favorite podcast provider, the Transatlantic Sports Show. Got a good run of guests coming up over the next few weeks here on the show. And today's episode, got a very special guest indeed. We have a Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl 43, the 2008 season, 1st of February, 2009. The Pittsburgh Steelers taking on Kurt Warner and the Arizona Cardinals in Tampa. And of course, Roethlisberger and co. Santonio Holmes, the MVP of that game, lifted the 6th Lombardi trophy for the Steelers. And the center, the guy who snapped the ball to Roethlisberger in that Super Bowl, Justin Hartwig, is my guest here on the Transatlantic Sports Show. Big name for you guys. Really excited to have him on. We spoke to him a few years ago. He's been on a couple of times, both here and former podcasts that I did as well, Fifth Down UK. Justin is great. We're going to talk about Ben Roethlisberger. It's a new era for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Coach Tomlin, he's gone. It is now the Mike McCarthy show. Mike McCarthy reunited with Aaron Rodgers. This is it. Aaron Rodgers, is it really? Is it his farewell tour? We will discuss with Justin Hartwig. And what does Justin make of the NFL International, the growth of NFL International? He is a Kansas Jayhawks alum, by the way. And the Jayhawks, as you all know, are coming over to London to play at Wembley Stadium later this year on the 19th of September in the Union Jack Classic. So plenty to talk about with Justin Hartwig, the Super Bowl champion, the former center for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So let's get to it, shall we? Here he is, my guest, Justin Hartwig. Hey, delighted to say that joining me now is a member who was part of the last Steelers rosters, squads, teams, I guess, to actually win the Super Bowl. One of the most storied franchises in all of NFL history. Only Tom Brady has won more Super Bowls than the Pittsburgh Steelers. They are level with 6 Lombardi trophies alongside the New England Patriots. As I said, the last Steelers team to win it was the 2008 season. In February 2009 in Tampa, Super Bowl 43, Ben Roethlisberger, Santonio Holmes was the MVP. I could go on and on and on. The guy snapping the ball to Ben Roethlisberger, Justin Hartwig, joins me now. Delighted to say that he is part of the show. Justin, welcome back to the Transatlantic Sports Show. Great to see you, man.
Thanks. I love it. I love connecting, talking about the Steelers, what's going on in the NFL. And of course, it's always fun to reminisce on moments like that. It's funny. Pretty much everybody remembers Roethlisberger to the Holmes in the corner of the end zone. I like to joke that the way I remember it is Hartwig to Roethlisberger to Holmes. So
nice.
But most people, I was a footnote. But yeah, great moment.
Well, you know what? I mean, it's we are in the midst of a heat wave here, Justin, in the UK, and it's quite rare that we have such prolonged heat waves, especially in the month of May. But I was out earlier walking along this lovely valley, just on our doorstep from where I live, and there's a movie out at the minute called The Sheep Detectives, starring Hugh Jackman, and it's about talking sheep who help solve a crime. It's better than it sounds, believe me, Justin. But whilst I was on this walk through this rural English countryside, I was thinking about how I introduced you to the show, Justin. And part of my thinking was the guy who gave the ball to Roethlisberger, who then threw the ball for the winner. So you kind of broke it down nicely there. I mean, when you think back about that, not just that game, Super Bowl 43 in Tampa, but the whole Super Bowl week. I've covered multiple Super Bowls now, so I know what that week is like, but I don't know what it's like for players. But when people mention Tampa Super Bowl 43, what memories are stirred back for you when you look back on that week in 2009?
It was a unique week, Super Bowl week, because everything that we do is routine with our team. Every Monday is the same, Tuesday, preparing for a game. But it was so unique in that we were away from our facility. We were staying in a hotel. We're practicing at a university like almost an hour away. So we weren't getting much sleep. Makeshift meeting rooms. So our routine was completely different, and there was media stuff going on. So it was kind of a circus. It wasn't like a regular game. The guys, we love our routine and knowing what to expect. And there was just so many unexpected things. And then of course the game is unique because it's not a home game or an away game. It's a bunch of random fans there. So yeah, it feels bizarre. It's probably what you would expect from a Super Bowl, but yeah, it was a very unique experience. It was different. It was a lot of fun, and obviously, I have fond memories because we won.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, I hate to bring it up, but you did have the safety, which almost cost things for the Steelers in that Super Bowl. I mean, do you have like bittersweet memories of that? Was there, did anybody say anything to you when that safety occurred?
No, I think it was just, it was one of those things where it's almost a blur, right?
Yeah.
Like during the game, like the adrenaline is so high, and it's just one of those things where the whole circumstance, there's just so much going on. And essentially it could have been traumatic if we would have lost the game, of course, but I just got a lot of encouragement from my teammates, and we talked all the time all season. It's a game of inches, and any one play could win or lose the game. But of course, guys' mistakes get highlighted. You don't want to make a mistake when the game is on the line, of course. So yeah, just a lot of encouragement from teammates. They always had my back, and I always had theirs when they had their screw ups. So we used to say, we got. We weren't worried about the opinions of people outside the locker room or what people had to say. It was all about us and what we were doing. But fortunately, it swung our way in the end.
Yeah, and you mentioned about the circus of Super Bowl week, and it really is, isn't it? From opening night, when you guys are all on show, everybody's available to talk, and it's almost mandatory, isn't it, that you speak to the media if people want to come to talk to you, then you do. And then of course you have to practice around that, and there's still media commitments and everything that's connected with the Super Bowl. But also on game day itself, you've got a prolonged halftime, and your Steelers team were 10 points up at halftime. So what was Mike Tomlin saying to you when you guys were going into the locker room for that prolonged interval?
Yeah, the Coach Tomlin had been in a Super Bowl before, and so they tried to prepare us as good as they could for how different this was going to be, how it was going to be a prolonged Super Bowl. Make sure you're hydrating, getting whatever food you need. And I had a torn MCL in my knee. I was getting retaped. I could use the extra time. So we were anticipating a marathon, and that's essentially what it was. It was such a unique game, but yeah, with the length of the game and the theatrics, we just had to stay focused. We had to stay focused on the vision of that Coach Tomlin set early on in the season of raising the sticky Lombardi. That was what we were focused on. That's what he was saying. Just keep focusing on raising that sticky Lombardi. He liked to tell us at the beginning of the year and all season long, this is the importance of a vision and casting a vision, that when that Lombardi trophy, when you win it and you pass it around, you get champagne and sweat and potentially tears and fingerprints and all kinds of stuff as it gets passed around. And so we were focused. We were focused on the vision of winning that game, and he just tried to keep us in that mindset.
Yeah, look, Coach T, he's had a tremendous run, hasn't he, at Pittsburgh? You look at his record and the winning record, the continued winning record that he had with the Steelers, one of the most storied franchises in all of NFL history. You walk into the practice facility. This is what struck me back in 2018 when I went out there, and you walk in, and the first thing you see, isn't it, is the Lombardis. So success is just there, and it dominates the facility. So I think for you guys walking in, you are greeted with it, aren't you? So you know what the heritage is of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and part of that heritage, and a fundamental part of that heritage and some of that success, that Super Bowl success, was Coach T. But for the first time in so long, this season, 2026, there is no Mike Tomlin as head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is massive because the Steelers, they don't go through coaching cycles very often. It's very few and far between. So this is something completely new for a generation, isn't it, of Steelers fans?
Yeah, and I think a lot of fans were anticipating a hire of a younger coach because that's what's trending. So I think a lot of people were surprised. But if you look at Mike McCarthy, I think he's 62 years old, obviously had a lot of success in the league. So you can't argue with the hire from that standpoint. But if, needless to say, he's not going to coach forever. He's 62. So you're probably not going to see another 20-year stretch here from Coach McCarthy. But so obviously a changing of the guard, and the Steelers are moving a different direction. And I would say it's almost kind of a safe hire in a sense. And I think that they value that stability and safety more so than, they're not going to be a franchise that is going to tank or is going to lose a ridiculous amount of games. They are committed to winning. And so you might argue with their methodology. You might not like mediocrity, but there's a lot of teams that have losing seasons year after year after year. So there's a lot to be said for the Steelers' success and the way that the Rooneys have done things. You can argue with it, but like you said, they've got 6 Super Bowls. That does kind of speak for itself.
Yeah, and I mean success, and you look at the successful franchises, but you can see it over here in the Premier League as well. Those successful clubs are run properly or in the right way, so it stems from the top. Do you get that feeling as a player when you are with the Steelers and you've got the Rooney family there? Is there a feeling that, from ownership down, they've got this and there is success just breathing throughout the whole of the franchise?
I really do.
Yeah,
I really do. And I think generally leadership does start with the top down, even at the NFL level. I played for 3 different organizations.
Yep.
I know that I was in Tennessee. Bud Adams was our owner. He lived in Houston. He wasn't there every day. He was relatively detached from the team and the day-to-day operations. And so, the buck really didn't stop with him. There was certainly, a lot that went on under his nose that he didn't know about because he wasn't there. But on the other hand, we had Jerry Richardson in Carolina. He was one of those guys that he was kind of this big old Southern gentleman and kind of led by, I don't know if I want to say fear and intimidation in a sense, but that's the feeling that we got from John Fox, who was our head coach when I was in Carolina. Yeah, I mean, he would come in and chew on us for a while and be like, look, this is the treatment I just got up in the big guy's office. They call it the big cat's office. They call him the big cat.
Right.
So, but there was that sense of, you're all going to lose your jobs if you guys don't perform. And it's almost like at the NFL level, that's just understood. So, but the Steelers, there's a sense of kind of more calm and stability there, I would say. Both Rooneys were alive at the time when I was there, but you would see them both milling about the facility, very cordial. They would speak to you, say hello to you in the hallways, and whether it was ownership or coaches or management, you didn't always get that treatment. So they treated people as human beings, with respect. And so I think that filtered down through Coach Tomlin and the way that he led. Coach Tomlin knew how to motivate. And I Don't know what went on behind closed doors with the ownership, but you just had a sense that it was a really stable organization and that I think is really well respected throughout the league.
Yeah, look, it's a great organization with some outstanding players throughout its history. You played with some of those outstanding players as part of that Super Bowl winning team from that 2008 season. What do you make of Aaron Rodgers and the media attention that he brings to the Steelers? Some would say it's negative, but others would say that he's bringing a positive outlook to the Steelers, and with that is with the media attention, it's giving the Steelers, I guess, some of the, well, I don't want to say limelight, but some of the focus and media focus. Where do you stand with Aaron Rodgers? And then let's talk about Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback, as well, because he is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's 4-time MVP. He's at the end of his career. We'll mention the comment that he made last week a little bit later in the Transatlantic Sports Show here. But first of all, let's go back to that question because there's a few statements ago for me. But your thoughts on the media attention that Aaron Rodgers brings to the Steelers organization?
Yeah, it's been interesting. He's a polarizing figure. Just his persona. He's on. He's in the media. He's so everybody hears what he has to say. He's very opinionated, and he's not going to hold back from what he thinks. I mean, surely he's calculated about what he shares and doesn't share, but he's a polarizing figure. He's not going to just toe the line of saying what your average guy is not going to toe the party line all the time. He's going to be an individual, and so I think he's earned that right. But yeah, it's created a relative circus. The Steelers are not a big market team, but we're one of the big teams in the NFL that people talk about. So everybody's interested in the Steelers because of our organization, and so it's been the circus behind Aaron Rodgers. I think a lot of fans have been turned off by that. Like, who does he think he is? Waiting to sign, and so that kind of got drug out. I think by and large, the sense has been from the Steelers fan base, hey, we want to get a quarterback in here that is going to be our answer. And so that didn't happen immediately. And I think bringing him in here is obviously there's a risk reward. But to his credit, he the whole fiasco with the Jets and how things kind of fell out with them. And with the injury, that didn't happen last year. I don't mean to jump into your next question, but as far as his performance, things went relatively well with him. He's obviously on the downside of his career, but I will say this: all of his teammates vouch for him. Yeah. I think he plays with a chip on his shoulder, says what he wants to say, and his personality isn't for everybody, but his teammates love him. He's a guy that you want to be in a foxhole with. There's certainly players that I played with that they wouldn't be my buddy off the field, but that's a guy I want to go to war with. I'm glad he's on my team. So I think Aaron Rodgers is one of those guys.
You know what? That was the vibe that I got when covering the preseason last year. So of course he was entering the first year of his time with the Steelers, and he made a point in his locker room interviews and in his press conferences as well to talk about connecting with the offensive line. And it was a young offensive line, and he really buddied up with some of those offensive linemen. And you saw that relationship in practice in Dublin as well. And as you say, they spoke very, very fondly of him. And I think he was very calculated. You used the term calculated in your answer just a few minutes ago. And I think he is really calculated, and he is clearly an intelligent man. He knows what he's doing. And he admitted in some of his interviews that even cracking old jokes that guys have heard before, but cracking them with this new generation, trying to make a connection, form a bond, but also build the trust of that young offensive line, and then giving them a steer and direction. And it worked. It got the Steelers to the playoffs, but he's a very clever guy and he knows what he's doing. But how important is it to have that connection, the offensive line? People listening and watching go, of course it's important. But as somebody who was an offensive lineman, a Super Bowl winning offensive lineman, a center for one of the great quarterbacks in Ben Roethlisberger. How essential is it that that quarterback has that relationship with you guys in front of him?
Yeah, as a quarterback, you're essentially the face of the franchise. And so it's a tough role to carry. And the offensive linemen are the guys that really they make the offense go. And some
Yeah.
would say that they make the team go. You're only as strong as your offensive line is going to take you. We are the strength of the team. And as a quarterback, you want to be on the same page with your offensive linemen. You want to develop a relationship with them. Like you said, I think that's very important. When I look back at our success in Pittsburgh and the success I've had on other teams, there's a connectivity, a human relational component that you can't always put your finger on. You can't create it in a boardroom. Putting pieces together, there's a synergy that has to happen between players. And so I think connecting and playing for one another, playing for something larger than yourself, larger than just a trophy. But when you're playing for people next to you, when there's a human element of investment in one another, a foxhole kind of guy like I had mentioned, you want to develop that. And you, as a quarterback, the offensive line is who protects you. Of course, you would want to. I mean, the quarterbacks I played with, they certainly would make like little fun comments from time to time if you got them hurt, or make light of that, and so there's that extra hint of accountability there. And so as a quarterback, you want to take care of your offensive linemen. Those are the guys that protect you. And the better you can run the ball, it's going to open up the passing game. So the quarterback is extremely incentivized for the offensive line to do well. And frankly, offensive line play isn't as good as it used to be, in my opinion, because you have so many moving parts with free agency. Also, like bringing guys up, like you draft a guy, you used to be able to develop him over the course of a year or two. To become a good offensive lineman in the NFL, it takes time. It takes lots of reps, mental reps, physical reps before you would plug a guy in. Now they just throw guys in there. And so you don't have that luxury of continuity in an offensive line group. And so the quarterback is certainly incentivized to get them up to speed as quickly as possible, especially with these young offensive linemen that are being thrown to the wolves essentially at an early age.
Well, Aaron Rodgers said this is it, almost like Michael Jackson ahead of his what would have been his final tour and concert series. But Aaron Rodgers said this is it last week. And naturally, everybody's assuming that this is going to be his farewell tour. What do you think? Is this it for him? And
it's got to be it for him.
You think that this season's it? He doesn't at the end 2027, he doesn't have everybody guessing. He goes, actually, I'm going to join X or Y.
You never say never with that guy. Kind of like a Brett Favre, right? That's who we learned from.
That's right.
We saw Brett Favre continue to come back, but I would think that that's it. Like we said, he's very, very calculated about what he's doing. But you look at the Steelers and you go, okay, after they ship Kenny Pickett off, they either had to pay a free agent, take a flyer on a guy. Nobody's trading away a franchise quarterback. So you either have to draft well, which we didn't at quarterback. That's just the reality. Or you're going to have a stopgap. And I think he was that. He was, I don't know if there's a perfect stopgap or scenario, but Aaron Rodgers is a great guy to come in and fill that role. I think Coach Tomlin was really trying to maximize this window of winning a Super Bowl while he still had Cam Hayward and J.J. Watt on defense, or T.J., I'm sorry. And, but, it's a 2-year window. And I think the Steelers have had time to possibly plug in if they weren't able to draft a franchise quarterback, it appears so far. But this is their opportunity to develop Will Howard and Drew Aller. I'm not sure how you pronounce his last name, but we'll see what the Steelers coaching staff and what the front office was able to do as this season plays out and going into the next year. But I would think that whether Aaron wants to play or not, you would think this is it. It's a 2-year run. Everybody sees the writing on the wall, and the Steelers are going to have to either elevate one of those guys or go big in free agency, because I I don't know how you can continue to play at that age and still play at a high level.
Yeah, it can't all be Tom Brady, man. But how far can he take them, Justin? Putting you on the spot.
Well, it's interesting. There's so many new dynamics. You and I chatted about this over email. There's so many moving parts with the Steelers that I think the coaching staff is a big dynamic.
Yeah.
Coach Tomlin has received a lot of criticism for, and these aren't my words, but other people would say that he didn't develop a coaching tree, or, there's a lot of criticism of his coaching staff, and people are saying that maybe the coaching staff is an upgrade. Who knows? We'll see. I think that's a bigger dynamic than people might realize. So we'll see what different coaching does, a new leadership does at the head of the team. But you still have pieces in place. It's hard to say. How can you predict something other than a mediocre record with the Steelers at this point? So I don't know. I'm gonna go with like 9-8.
Okay. Winning season.
Winning season.
There we go.
That's the standard.
Sneak into the playoffs, right? And then can they get over the hump? Can they get that playoff win?
Yeah, but I could be way off. Who knows? It could be a rebuilding year for the Steelers. But I don't see enough evidence with the offseason changes to lead me to believe that we're going to be a playoff winning team. We'll see, but you would like to think that this will quench the fans' thirst. That okay, the problem is Coach Tomlin. Okay, we bring in a new coaching staff. We'll see what happens this year. It'll be interesting.
It will. It'll be good fun. And look, fans on this side of the Atlantic are going to be able to see them again because they are playing in Paris. Now, before we talk about Paris, to my left here is a terrible towel from Ireland, the Dublin game. We all know the proud history of the Rooney family and their Irish roots. And the Steelers really did take over Dublin last September when they played against the Vikings at Croke Park. And what an experience it was. I was fortunate to fly out on the Thursday. I was there until the Monday, so I soaked it all up. And the thing that really caught my attention, aside from the game itself, was in the build-up to it. Walking through the fine city of Dublin on the Saturday, for example. All those bars, NFL fans. But when NFL teams come to London, I've been fortunate enough to cover every city in Germany when the NFL has gone out there. And what a rabid fan base that is, by the way, the German fan base. But you see the Festival of Football that many people say. I was at the Super Bowl earlier this year in February, sat in Santa Clara Levi Stadium looking out. And I was thinking to myself, there was a moment where I thought, this is just like an NFL London game or Germany game or whatever, because it's a festival. There's a sea of jerseys, different jerseys there. Of course, the stakes are far higher than you can imagine at the Super Bowl than at one of these NFL international games. Mm-hmm. But the NFL game in Dublin was different because it meant so much more to the Steelers and the Rooney family. And it was black and yellow as far as the eyes could see. Yes, there were traveling fans, and Vikings fans do travel well, and we've seen them plenty of times in recent years in London. But I've been very fortunate to go to Pittsburgh on a Sunday night football game against the Baltimore Ravens. So I've had the experience of walking through Pittsburgh, through the fine city center there, and seeing the black and yellow. Dublin felt like we were in Pittsburgh. So clearly, Ireland and the Irish heritage means a lot, not just to the Rooney family, not just to the Steelers. But I think I got a sense to the Steelers fans themselves. Do you wish that you could have played in Dublin back in your playing days, Justin? I mean, what was your impression of that game at Croke Park, watching it? I don't know if you were fortunate to make the trip over or whether you're watching it on the TV where you are out in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I didn't make it. That certainly would have been a unique experience. I would have really enjoyed that, being able to take in a new city and new culture, it's obviously one of those things people would ask me all the time, like, what's it like to visit all those cities? And frankly, we would fly in on a Saturday afternoon, go right to the hotel, eat dinner, meetings, get up the next day and play the game, and we would head right out. So it's not like we got to see a lot of sightseeing or anything like that, but that would have been fun to go to Ireland and check that out. Certainly. Yeah, I think that would be a fun experience, a unique one, not one that I would want to do every week, but yeah, that would have been exciting. And the Steelers fans traveled tremendously well. Obviously, there was in the 1970s, there was an explosion of Steelers fans, and they have just spread all over the country, all over the world. And so it's been neat to be a part of the Steelers organization and be a part of something special that's unique in the NFL. I think, I know when I was in Carolina, our head coach told us that Mr. Richardson wanted to pattern his organization after the Pittsburgh Steelers because of the way that they did things, the following that they had. And he referred to the Panthers fans as the wine and cheese crowd. If you weren't winning, they would leave at halftime. So it's a different demographic in the southern part of the United States because they're more into college football. But certainly the Steelers have a unique brand that has international appeal. And so it's been special to be a part of that.
Did you get a sense of the Irish heritage with the Rooney family, or how important the country was to them when you were there with the Steelers?
Not necessarily. I knew Dan was the ambassador to Ireland, but I didn't really understand all the dynamics with that. But I for whatever reason, that was apparently important to them to play the game over there. I'm sure that had been in the works for years.
You think they'll be back?
I have no idea. The way that the NFL is expanding, it sounds like it's a good possibility.
What do you think of the NFL international expansion? 9 games this year. Part of that slate of games is the first ever game in Paris and the Stade de France. What a setting in Saint-Denis, Paris, where the Steelers will be the road team out there against the New Orleans Saints. You know, the Steelers are making history. They're coming over to Europe again. European fans are going to get another chance to see Aaron Rodgers on his "This Is It" farewell tour. But, what do you make of the growth of NFL international and the number of games now that we have each season?
Personally, I don't like it. I think it's good as for a preseason game. I think that makes sense to expand international appeal, but for a lot of reasons, I don't like it. One, I talked about the routine of, well, first of all, I mean, traveling to different countries, there's logistical aspects to it. As a player, the season is a battle of attrition. Physically, you're doing everything you can to keep your body physically capable of performing at an elite level on Sundays. So that rest that you get is essential. Like coming home after a game, having that time, going into the facility, getting your treatment the next day, studying film for the upcoming opponent. Tuesday's your day off, which is you're getting a lift in on your own and still watching film. It's nobody takes the day off, but the rest of the week is you need that time to spend an entire day at work, and you need as much time and rest and energy as you can possibly get. And I just think traveling overseas would really detract from that. I know I remember playing on the West Coast. I remember playing a night game on the West Coast. My body was just so worn out. I didn't get home till 5 a.m. I remember this one West Coast game later in my career. I was just so sore and we were up so late. It's a 5-hour flight. I remember going to a gas station at like 4 a.m. on my way back from the airport when we finally landed in Pittsburgh, buying several bags of ice and just climbing into my bathtub at 5 a.m. going, bags of ice going, this, like, my body is hurting so bad. I need all the time and energy I can to rest and just get back for the next week. You're dealing with all kinds of stuff. So going overseas, not having the right equipment to take care of the players, not getting the right rest. And also you talk about playing surfaces. The NFL already has enough challenges with getting a standard playing surface, one that is safe for the players. And you go overseas, you're playing on soccer fields that aren't up to snuff with the NFL standards. And the other thing is, it's long been a talking point with the extended NFL season. They had long wanted to add a 17th game, and now they want to add an 18th game. If I was in charge of the players union, I would have never ever caved on the 16 game season. It's all about money for the owners. That's the bottom line. They can pad their pockets, but for the players, the season is extremely long. So those injuries, they add up, but every game that you play, it's just more money in their pocket. So I understand their desire to appeal to a broader audience, but I think you can do that with preseason and without watering down your product. The other thing is they're moving the to all nights a week. It's not just a Sunday football and one Monday night game a week. It's becoming like five days a week. So personally, that's not for me. I'm more of a traditionalist. I like things being kind of more standard, but I'm sure everybody's got a different perspective.
Yeah, that's what makes the NFL so unique, I think, especially over here, that it's a Sunday evening. Those 1:00 games for you, nice 6:00 kickoffs over on this side of the pond, and then you get the games at 9:25. And then for the real hardcore fans who want to stay up through the night, they can watch the Sunday night football. Interesting what you said there. A 5-hour flight coming back from the West Coast, and you're pulling into a gas station to buy ice to have an ice bath at 5:00. Those Rams and 49ers players flying back after that week 1 game in Melbourne, Australia, have got a 16-hour flight to get back and then get adjusted for a game the following week. The Rams playing on Monday Night Football. The 49ers are playing on Sunday.
Yeah, it's a great point. And when I was playing, they had Thursday night games, but you don't have ample time to prepare for your opponent. If you want to play at a high level and put out a really refined product, if you want to get the best out of the players, they need rest. They need rest to get their bodies right. Everybody's playing injured. And just to get your legs back. And on top of that, it's the scouting of your upcoming opponent. Instead of just preparing for your upcoming opponent, coaches are then having to spend a couple days before they even play their game preparing for the next week's opponent, just to prepare for a game 5 days later. So the players don't really get the time to amply prepare. I mean, when you're playing in a game of inches, you want to be great as a pro at the game within the game. The little nuances of knowing what the Baltimore Ravens are doing on defense. How many different personnel packages do they have, different alignments versus our different offensive personnel packages? What are they going to line up in? What kind of blitzes are they going to run versus what formations we put out there? What are their tendencies on as far as what they're doing defensively on first down, second down, third down? As a center, I want to study my opponent enough that I at least have a good idea of what to anticipate. So I can put myself in as good a position as I can. So when I'm out there on Thursday night and I've only got a few days to prepare, I'm in the best position I can to, make an adjustment if I sense Ray Lewis is going to blitz.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, your alma mater, the Kansas Jayhawks, they're actually traveling as well this year for the first Union Jack Classic at Wembley Stadium in London, September 19th against Arizona State. What can American football fans wanting to soak up the college football vibe expect from the Kansas Jayhawks and all that they bring for game day experience?
That's an interesting question because for those of your listeners who don't know, Kansas is a basketball school. Dr. James Naismith founded basketball, and Kansas was the first school he coached at. So we are a big-time basketball program. Our football program, fortunately, has come around. We've been historically pretty bad. You're typically either a good football or basketball school, but we've had some success in recent years. I don't know that we'll travel that well, to be honest with you. Same with Arizona State. We'll see. but you're going to get a fun product. We are getting back our offensive coordinator. We had an offensive coordinator who had a lot of success. Penn State hired him. Then their staff got fired this last year, and we hired him back, our offensive coordinator. So I'm looking for big things out of Kansas football this year. So you're going to see a high quality product. I think they're playing Arizona State. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Arizona State's had a really good team this last year too. So it'll be really good football. I don't know if I'll make it over there or not, but that would certainly be a lot of fun to check that out.
Well, circle your calendars, folks. Last time I checked, there are still tickets available for that one. That is September 19th at Wembley Stadium. Union Jack Classic. Sounds like it's going to be a fun football matchup. So if you are an American football fan, of course, if you're watching or listening to this program, you are. So you want to go check that out. So thanks for that, Justin. Look, before we wrap up, we'll talk about some things going on with you. But a big story that circulated over the past weekend, so mid to late May, at time of recording, was Jackson Dart, the quarterback for the New York Giants. Now, he's caused a stir, I guess, showing his political allegiances, shall we say, introducing President Donald Trump at an event in New Jersey. We'd seen some of the reactions from his teammates, including Abdul Carter on social media. As a former player, how toxic can politics make locker rooms? And therefore, should players be open about their political allegiances or ties? Or is the locker room sacred and you don't discuss politics in there?
It's a great question, and it's a personal answer for everybody. But whether it's pro sports or you're running a gas station or whatever you do, whatever your business is, I've never thought it was a great idea to virtue signal. If your business exists to make money as the bottom line, I don't know. I just don't understand why people would be in the business of or want to get into the arena of virtue signaling what their personal morality is or what things that they get behind. If this is your business, if you're making money off of it in the United States, our government has, the way it's set up, it's a relatively two-party system, and they are into identity politics. And frankly, I think this is the way that people stay divided, as we get into two morality classes and we just end up waging war against each other. And I don't think it benefits the whole. And so the way I think about it is if it's a moral issue, and I don't understand why you would bring that into business. I think the NFL owners really, they really kind of caved in the last 10 years or so. They've really gotten involved in different political, I don't even want to say political, it's more ethical and ideological issues that are really divisive. So I think they've isolated a lot of people. I think there's a lot of people that don't follow the NFL anymore, specifically because they've gotten into that arena. So I guess I used to think more about politics, but I don't see how it would benefit any player, let alone Jackson Dart, to bring that into the locker room. You might say, hey, this is a platform I have to share what I want to share. But if your bottom line is money, then I don't think it's good for business.
Right. Well, Justin, you won it all. You won the ultimate goal for footballers. You enter pro football, you start. What is it you want to do? You want to win the Super Bowl. You won the Super Bowl in 2009. It was that 2008 season, Super Bowl 43 with the Pittsburgh Steelers. When you retired, how are you feeling? Where were you at with retirement, and when you were reflecting on the game, did you get a sense of achieving everything that you had set out in your career?
I did. Being able to play pro football and for as long as I did, and to win a world championship, it was really my wildest dream come true. And so it was like pinching myself all the time. Like, I can't believe this is actually my life. So I as someone who has been highly successful in my chosen arena, I was definitely hard on myself. I mean, you play a game, and the plays you think about are always the ones that you didn't do well on. If there was 4 plays that stuck out, I was gonna ruminate over those 4 plays. But looking back at my career, I always go, it could have been better. I could have played longer, or played at a higher level had I done X, Y, or Z differently. But by and large, man, I'm very fortunate to have played for as long as I did, and met so many friends and had so many amazing experiences. Um, Achieved a lot of success. You know, made a lot of money as a young man, and so I was very fortunate in a lot of ways. Very thankful for my career.
And you everything the game has brought you, you are now kind of giving back. You are coaching, right, in college football, but also you're contributing to the local community, and you've received the Holy Spirit. You've found your faith since retiring from football. Is that right?
Yeah. So so basically, shortly after we won the Super Bowl, I think football was an idol for me. It was, looking back, had we lost that Super Bowl game, I would have, like I said, been hard on myself. I probably would have been ran out of town. My life would have looked a lot different.
Mm.
And I kind of realized after winning the Super Bowl that this wasn't satisfying me. There was something more to life than just being successful and all the things I got to experience. And I hit a low after winning the Super Bowl. I had a pastor reach out to me on a whim, and he shared the gospel of Jesus Christ with me. And I was finally ready to hear it when he shared it with me. And like you said, the Holy Spirit moved, and entered into a relationship with God through Jesus Christ, the way, the truth, the life. And it's God has really transformed me from the inside out. I used to look to my circumstances to define my life and experiences and likes and dislikes, but now I look to God, and so God has changed me. I'm saved. I'm redeemed, and it's not just a belief system or an end game, but it's a way of life following after Christ. And so God has provided a new pathway for me. Like you said, I've been able to give back. So that's where I've really focused my energy. I'm coaching college football. So I'm coaching at a Division III school here called Grove City College. We've had a lot of success over the last several years, but I'm excited. I love being a part of it. I love pouring into the young men with my unique giftings and my life experiences. I've also had the opportunity to be involved in a few different ministries. One is called Rugged Cross Outdoors, and we put on hunts, turkey hunts, deer hunts for the youth, people who are disabled, and also veterans of the military. And so we like to pour into those groups, and it's just an awesome time spending times with those guys in the woods. And the last organization, there's 2 more organizations I want to mention real quickly, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
But another organization I'm a part of, that one is called Rugged Cross Outdoors. There is the Good Samaritan Fund. It's a local organization that helps people who can't afford medical bills. So it's based upon the parable of the Good Samaritan. And so it's an amazing organization. And we're just trying to help people who need medical care who aren't able to pay for it or unable to receive it. And the last organization I want to mention is the Asservo Project. They are combating human trafficking. It's a massive problem. It's becoming more well known, but people go missing, kids go missing, and a lot of it happens over the internet and social media. And so the Asservo Project is a local organization that combats human trafficking worldwide. And if anybody's interested, I know Anthony said he'd send out some links, but they patrol the internet, try to get women who are being trafficked into safety and things like that. So just giving back with what God has given me. So really thankful to be able to do this at this stage of my life.
We'll share those links on YouTube. So if you're watching, you'll see it in the program breakdown. If you are listening to the Transatlantic Sports Show, then check out our YouTube channel at TASS_UK or search Transatlantic Sports Show, and you'll see the link provided there. Justin, I mean, what great work you're doing there. And thank you both for everything you've provided as a player and the stuff you are doing now for your community, and also for the time that you've given us here on the Transatlantic Sports Show. I've got one last question for you. You refer to the Steelers as we. You've referred to them a few times as we. So do you still go to games? You going out there as often as you can?
I usually go to one game a year.
Okay.
And it's just because my wife likes to go with her family. Like once a year, we like to go to a game. And so last year it was great. I got to go out onto the field pregame with a few of my former teammates. Antonio was there too. Got to connect with him and say hello to Coach Tomlin. So we try to get back for one game a year. They've also started including the alumni a little bit in their dealings. So last year I got to go to an OTA practice, which,
nice.
For those of you who don't know, it's an organized team activity days. And I just got an email yesterday. They're inviting us next week to next Wednesday to practice. And we're going to get to chat with Coach McCarthy and hopefully meet some current players and see what they're up to. I got to meet Mason Rudolph last year. I got to meet the center, Zach Frazier. Got to meet him. I got him by a couple inches, by the way.
Hey, go on. There we are.
And then got to meet Mason Rudolph, nice guy, and Ben Skoronik. I talked to him for quite a while. Solid dude. So looking forward to connecting with some of those guys again, hopefully next week.
Awesome. Well, thanks very much for your time. And who knows? I know you've got your college commitments, but I was going to say, if your wife wanted to catch a game, you could catch the one in Paris, but I guess you're otherwise engaged this year.
Yeah.
There we are.
Yeah. Appreciate the invite. That sounds like fun. Are you going to go there?
Yeah. Well, fingers crossed, all being well, then yes, we'll be there with the Transatlantic Sports Show. Absolutely. Love the NFL international games. We get to as many, if not all of them, as we can. But I don't think the budget will stretch as far as Melbourne or Rio de Janeiro, sadly. But
yeah, there's a long way to go.
Can't have it all, can we, Justin?
No.
Well, thank you very much, Justin, and good luck with everything that you're doing. And as I said, those links that you mentioned, they're available for everyone to click on and see the great work that you're doing on our YouTube page there. But thank you very
so much. Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate the conversation. It was awesome.
There he goes. What a great guy, Justin Hartwig. And, well, if you're watching on YouTube, you will have seen the links. Or if you haven't gone that far through the description of the show, then please check out those links. And if you are listening to us as an audio podcast, then please check us out on YouTube at TASS_UK. And you'll be able to see the links that Justin had shared there. Some great stories from Justin, some real insights into the Steelers organization and what it's like to be an NFL player throughout your career, obviously playing in the professional football league, but then also, what it's like making that transition from all those playing days, everything, and achieving everything that you set out to achieve, winning Super Bowls, and then transitioning into the everyday life of us fans and journalists alike, the people watching from the stands instead of actually being there in the trenches on the field. But what a great guy, Justin Hartwig. When I reached out to him, as I said at the top of the show, I've spoken to him a few times before. When I reached out and he got back, I was absolutely delighted. Little insight. I was waiting to get on my plane to fly to Oslo to cover the UEFA Women's Champions League final. And there was the confirmation from Justin that he was joining. And I was absolutely delighted that he's going to give you guys the opportunity to hear his stories and get his takes on the Pittsburgh Steelers in what is a massive period of transition for one of the most storied franchises in NFL history. This franchise goes way back, the Steelers. You know that. And it's very rare that they transition from one head coach, Coach T, who had been there for so long, to Mike McCarthy. And we've got Aaron Rodgers as well in what could be his farewell tour. And Justin Hartwig firmly believes that it will be the farewell tour for Aaron Rodgers. And the Steelers coming over to Europe again, over to Paris for the NFL France game, the first ever game in France, NFL regular season game, that is, in France. Some of the troops did play in France. They had games out there during the Second World War, but that is in the past. If you want to check out details of that, you can see behind me my book, The Greatest American Football Story That Has Never Been Told. Check it out on Amazon. Just search for it. Search my name in Amazon, and then please, by all means, purchase it. Then reach out. Let me know what you think. And if there's any way I can sign a copy for you, then let me know, and I would be delighted to do so. As I said, Justin is the first of a great series of guests that we've got coming up here on the Transatlantic Sports Show. Next, we will be getting excited for a future host city of the Super Bowl, Nashville, the Tennessee Titans. Again, a period of change for the Titans. And Rhett Bryant, who is a good friend of the show, who is a game day host of Titans Radio, he's going to be joining us from Nashville to talk about all things Titans. So we love to cover the stories here and give you insights into the different teams and stories connected with them across the NFL. And we dip our feet into the MLB waters as well. So all the more reason for you to follow us and subscribe to the YouTube page. All the details are coming up on the screen below if you're watching. And please just check us out at TASS_UK. So until next time,